You are not prepared for this one, I assure you. The streets of hip-hop are on fire, ladies and gentlemen, so cancel whatever arrangements you may have made. Jim Jones, the man who used to, is said to be sobbing after a shocking revelation that could have made even Maury Povich yell, "You are not the father." Or are you? He went through Harlem like a king. Indeed, you heard me correctly. According to shocking new claims that may or may not have been smuggled out of a reality show, Chrissy Lampkin, Jim's longtime lover and reality TV ride or die, is embroiled in the messiest controversy of the decade. Courtroom by a dubious intern with poor Wi-Fi. Jim recently learned that Chrissy had been concealing a child all along. The deceit, the betrayal, the boldness. Is this the most startling betrayal in hip-hop history? Is this the Dipset dynasty's last straw? Above all, how did this ever occur? Beneath Jim's nose? I'm going to tell you something that will make love and hip-hop look like a Disney film. So stay put, get some popcorn, and buckle in. The scandal of all scandals is this one. Right now, we're going all the way in. The cameras flicker. The murmurs become gasps. Suddenly, the courtroom that was meant to handle another celebrity crisis in silence turns into ground zero of the most astounding treachery that Harlem has ever witnessed. Mr. We Fly High himself, Jim Jones, a member of Dipset royalty, isn't flying at all at the moment. As stated by Jim, has just crumbled beneath the weight of a reality that no amount of ice, swagger, or street cred could protect him from. According to our extremely trustworthy, and by that I mean completely shady, sources close to the issue. Thus, what is the rapper turned mogul crying into his Louis Vuitton scarf? Chrissy Lampkin, 2 words. Yes, Chrissy. The woman who stuck with him and held him down for decades alongside him through tour drama, label battles, and enough altercations on reality shows to make us appear subdued. The woman whose allegiance was meant to be unrivaled. The woman who asked Jim to marry her on national television at one of VH1's most memorable moments. And yet here we are. Reports from what is arguably the most tumultuous court proceeding since Cardi B entered a guilty plea to throwing shoes at strippers was alleged to be Chrissy's ultimate secret. Not a throwaway Instagram account, not a dubious LLC, not even a side gig. Oh no, we're discussing an whole child. A complete human being purportedly concealed from Jim, the outside world, and most likely even the love and hip-hop creators. I understand your thoughts. Hold on, what? Trust me, the same. How is it possible for a man who previously asserted that he has eyes and ears everywhere to overlook a baby-sized elephant in the room? Those in the know claim that people read what the janitor overheard. Jim was taken aback during evidence by startling documents, including text message receipts, and hold on to your wigs when sweeping outside the courthouse. Chrissy's name appeared on a purported paternity report. Bless your millennial hearts if you're too young to remember the Dipset era or if you're living under a rock. This is the background information you need to understand how crazy this is. The coupling of pandemonium has been Jim and Chrissy. These two essentially created the model for, we're toxic but make it iconic. From Harlem block parties to love and hip-hop. Through breakups, reconciliations, and reconciliations. Fans were yelling for her to be married right away due to her intermittent drama. Missed weddings, matching tattoos, and public disagreements. They made it through it all. Or so we believed. Here comes Cameron, sometimes known as Killer Cam, the petty king of hip-hop. The man who chose to add gasoline to this already raging dumpster fire during what witnesses called the most vicious courtroom retaliation in reality TV history. According to reports, Cam entered the courtroom like a grim reaper dressed in pink mink and showed the receipts for Chrissy's alleged treachery. Because let's face it, something messy will happen if Cameron is present. Is going to fall. According to reports, Cameron pulled out an envelope like he was at the Source Awards and stated, "Your Honor, I'm going to explain why while he was truly starring in a daily soap drama, Brother Jim had been wandering around believing he was living in a love story. Our anonymous legal insider said that a special thanks is given to the court sketch artist who revealed according to the information presented, Chrissy was supposedly secretly engaged with another man years ago, and a child was born out of that bond. Jim was unaware that there was a child. This isn't just a haphazard, chaotic rumor. Oh no. When someone revealed Beyoncé was pregnant once more, The courtroom reportedly erupted like it was the BET Awards. You could the sound of Jim's entire legacy cracking like a cheap iPhone screen after a bad drop can be heard, along with the gasps and repressed tears. Jim allegedly sank into his chair, took off his high-end glasses, and muttered to his attorney, "I can't." Who could possibly believe this? This is the man whose reputation was founded on loyalty, street code, and authenticity. Loyalty is more than just a word to him. It's his whole identity, his brand. To reportedly hide this kind of devastating secret from his most reliable buddy, his ride or die, this wasn't merely betrayal. In broad daylight, it was character assassination. Imagine the internet if you believe the courtroom was shaken. Screenshots were leaked more quickly than Jim was able to dab at his tears. Social media took off. It was a battle zone on Twitter. Memes, hashtags, TikToks, and articles written by fictitious relationship experts who inexplicably earned a master's degree in dipset drama in an instant. In a matter of hours, Hot Chrissy's hidden child went viral. It was aptly summed up by one Twitter user. The storyline twist we didn't realize we needed in 2024 is when Jim Jones discovers Chrissy has a secret child. Get Mona Scott on the phone as soon as possible. Additionally, when fans were occupied attempting to calculate timings and perform calculations related to famous paternity. Was this prior to the performance? Following the third season, Jim allegedly vanished from the public eye. According to sources, he unfollowed Chrissy on Instagram, canceled all appearances, and skipped a scheduled club hosting assignment. To be honest, unfollowing in 2024 is akin to filing for divorce. Chrissy hasn't said anything in the interim. Not a word, not a post, not a comment, which just increased the conjecture because, as every competent fake news investigator is aware, quiet breeds guilt, or at the very least, it enhances the narrative. More juicy. The same distinction. For the time being, even Cameron, typically the king of dubious Instagram captions, has kept things strangely low-key. But believe me, if history teaches us anything, he's simply waiting for the ideal opportunity to load the next round of petty. Now everyone in the planet is left wondering the same question. How in the world was Jim unaware? How does a man can someone who is surrounded by cameras, friends, and haters overlook such a significant secret? Is this the height of treachery? Or is there more to this tale than what has been presented to us? Moreover, we are adjourned until tomorrow morning. Further evidence and witness testimonies will be presented, the judge said sharply, slamming the gavel down as the commotion in the courtroom reached a fever pitch. Reporters and cameras flooded the courthouse steps like wild animals, causing the throng to explode into startled chatter. And people, this is where things get even more sinister. The following morning was anything from peaceful. The courthouse had turned into the town's hottest circus before dawn. Outside, like sneakerheads waiting for a story, were reporters, bloggers, TikTok investigators, and every shade of gossip page imaginable. New drop from Jordan. The energy was unquestionably messy, energetic, and chaotic. Exactly how the internet likes it. Tensions were really high within the courthouse. Jim Jones showed up with his lawyer's team, wearing shades, a huge hoodie pulled over his head, and a countenance that conveyed a single message. This is not why I woke up. There was no sign of Chrissy. Cameron. Oh, Cameron arrived stylishly late, sporting a bright pink tracksuit and exuding what I described as a lot of energy. The judge warned that any outbursts would not be allowed and reminded everyone in the courtroom to maintain composure when the proceedings resumed, which naturally necessitated nothing at all. No one could act in such a chaotic, gossipy, or scandalous manner. The next shocking revelation followed. The prosecution presented what they claimed to be indisputable evidence of Chrissy's purported double life, supported by anonymous sources who purportedly included a resentful ex-friend and a hairstylist who heard it all. Display A. Private text exchanges between Chrissy and a man solely identified in court records as Mr. X are allegedly released. According to the documents, Mr. X, and around the time when Jim and Chrissy were apparently planning their wedding, Chrissy allegedly rekindled an old flame. Whoa. There were many mysterious flirtations in the literature, discussions of private meetings, as well as the now famous statement that completely destroyed Twitter. He is unable to know. Not quite yet. Everyone in the courtroom gasped. Cameron even arched an eyebrow after spending the most of the morning scrolling through his phone as if he were utterly bored. "Jim!" Jim allegedly froze. Witnesses remark he appeared to have just been struck by a sledgehammer of treachery. As the prosecution proceeded to present their alleged mountain of evidence, his attorneys muttered anxiously. Next, the purported bank records arrived. They said that Chrissy had been transferring substantial amounts of money each month to a secret trust established in a minor's name. The theory of the prosecution. Jim was unaware that Chrissy was providing financial assistance for a child. Although the defense claimed that the payments were made for private family matters and charitable contributions, the harm had already been done. Already, social media was in full spiral mode. Conspiracy theorists on TikTok put together timelines, compared baby photos, spotted strange gaps in Chrissy's Instagram postings, and linked previous Love and hip-hop episodes of Mr. X in an attempt to demonstrate similarity. "Look at that nose! It's genetics, babe," proclaimed one popular TikTok. The comments are a complete mess. Over 2 million views in less than 8 hours. Jim sat quietly while the web circus raged. No, not even a passive-aggressive mood meme. No tweets, no posts. With headlines like, "This man has aged 15 years overnight. Prayers up." Several followers started sharing side-by-side pictures of Jim from years ago and now. In the meantime, Cameron shared a boomerang of himself drinking tea with the message, "Patience is everything," since he never wanted to squander a wonderful moment on a disaster. However, back in court, things were going to get even more crazy. The next witness, a former acquaintance of Chrissy's who was protected by Jane Doe status, claimed that Chrissy had told her about an accident that resulted in a kid years prior, and that she had no intention of ever telling Jim. Once more, there was an audible gasp in the courtroom. The judge struck the gavel twice. It was ineffective. Jane Doe continued by claiming that Chrissy had used the statement, "I couldn't risk him finding out," to defend the secrecy. Out. It would ruin everything. According to Jane, Chrissy was afraid that the truth would destroy their lucrative reality TV deals as well as their love, endorsements, as well as their reputation as the ultimate hip-hop power couple, for the first time since the story broke. According to reports, Jim looked up and fixed his unblinking gaze directly forward. His expression said it all. It went beyond simple treachery. This was devastation. Now, the murmurs outside the courtroom had developed into full-fledged media frenzy. Headlines shrieked from tabloids. Dipset was rocked by the baby surprise. At last, Chrissy's deepest secret came to light. The memes are brutal. Jim Jones from We Fly High to We Cry High. Jim's famous We Fly High video became viral. However, the caption was changed to We Cry High. Another depicted Mona Scott Young with devil horns, allegedly scheming to turn this into 10 new episodes of hip-hop and love. The fans loved it. However, things became serious as the people laughed inside the courtroom. Evidently rattled, the defense contended that nothing was conclusively proven by any of the evidence. The purported passages were misrepresented. Charitable family support was the source of the payments. The witness false, untrustworthy rumors from an opportunist who was once a buddy. The judge declared that further witnesses, possibly including Mr. X himself, would be heard the next day. There was electricity in the courtroom. The reporters were typing notes frantically. Fans outside were live streaming in the hopes of catching even a glimpse of Jim or Chrissy entering or leaving the courtroom, while sketch artists were documenting every dramatic reaction. Jim stood slowly, pulled the hood back over his head, and walked out without saying anything as the court adjourned. Cameron trailed behind, grinning as though he already knew he had one more trick up his sleeve. The entire world was waiting. Would Mr. X appear and expose the truth at last? Would Chrissy speak up? Was Jim going to be able to get over this? Would Cameron's petty rule only get worse? The court date was scheduled. The media called it Dipset's Day of Judgment. Fans gathered outside with signs. One cruelly read, "Jim, blink twice if you're okay." Then, as if the gods of drama were planning the ultimate season finale, Breaking news appeared on everyone's screens. Chrissy had a whole side quest and Jim didn't even get the side mission notification. Phones. Mr. X is traveling to New York to testify, however, this is unconfirmed. Everyone on the streets went insane. Helicopters from TMZ were supposedly already in the air. The level of security was doubled. What the internet does best is what it did. Predictions, outrageous charges, phony screenshots, and of course, memes. The countdown has started. The third day of the trial was expected to be the most dramatic. And one question as the sun began to set over New York City stayed in everyone's thoughts. Was Jim Jones going to lose his entire legacy, not just his relationship? There was not much time for the crowd to wait. Day 3 was just a few hours away. The world held its breath as the cameras, reporters, fans, and phony experts got ready to swarm the courts once more. What would come next? There was no slowing of the controversy. It was actually on the verge of blowing up again. Manhattan felt heavier and darker as the sun rose over the city, as if even the concrete was aware of what was about to happen. At morning, crowds had already assembled outside the courthouse. Some flew in from distant states, while others missed work. Influencers were broadcasting live from the stairs. TikTokers were rehearsing their surprised facial expressions as the block was lined with news vans. The third day of the trial, the day her ex shows up, was formally renamed. Then it took place. As an A-black SUV with no markings arrived, the door parted. Imagine a tall, well-groomed man wearing a navy suit and dark glasses. The audience let out a gasp. Is this at last him? Was this the enigmatic Mr. X? Frantically, paparazzi snapped. Microphones were thrust at him by reporters. He remained silent. He just straightened his tie and entered the structure. Jim Jones sat quietly in the courtroom with his attorneys at his sides. He had lost his hoodie. His face was hollow, tired, and bare. This was not the extravagant Harlem hustler that we had previously encountered. This man was seeing the disintegration of his universe. Cameron walked in. A few moments later, the judge appeared, called for silence, and the last day of evidence started. He was wearing a Dipset varsity jacket and had an expression that screamed, "I live for this mess." Mr. X stood up. As if they were going to hear the outcome of a murder trial, the gallery leaned forward. Mr. X testified under oath that he had known Chrissy for years and that they used to be more than just friends. The gasps arrived at precisely the perfect moment. He asserted that many years ago, during a brief but passionate relationship, Chrissy had become conceived and then secretly delivered birth. He claimed that Chrissy insisted Jim would never find out because she was afraid that telling him would ruin their relationship and her job. Mr. X added that although he had honored her desires, he had always maintained a distant presence in the child's life. The courtroom sat in disbelief. Quiet. For the first time in hours, Jim Jones raised his head and fixed his gaze on the man claiming to be the father of the kid his fiancée had concealed. According to reports, he muttered, "I gave her." Mr. X went on to explain what caused Twitter to go into cardiac arrest. He asserted that he and Chrissy had made a private contract to maintain everything was concealed, including Chrissy's monthly child support payments. The paper was supposedly so confidential that even Jim's own lawyers were unaware of its existence. Indeed, a copy was in the court. When the news broke, the crowd outside surged. Hashtags took off. Chris's secret child or her Jim Jones trial, Mr. X disclosed. Memes become popular in a matter of seconds. Jim Jones's Dipset chain was altered to read "trust issues" rather than "diplomats" in one widely shared post. Back inside, the defense hurried to raise an objection. They asserted the materials lacked authenticity. Mr. X was pursuing celebrity, and what he had claimed was a well-planned falsehood intended to undermine a well-known marriage. However, the harm had already been done. The court of public opinion had already decided its case. Jim left the premises when security was present during the lunch break. The moment was captured by photographers. He lowered his head, and shoulders sagged. There is no sign of Chrissy. Conversely, Cameron emerged with a hot dog and waved to admirers as if he were strolling the red carpet. When the court reconvened, the judge addressed the elephant in the space. State and federal detectives were interested in this case because of the startling evidence, even though it was still officially a civil dispute. Unreported rumors of money laundering fraud and child support monies began to circulate like vultures. A number of record labels started to back out of upcoming agreements with Jim. Sponsors discreetly pulled out agreements. Producers of reality TV argued over whether to cancel or intensify the next season. In real time, the fallout was occurring. By the end of the day, Jim's lawyer asked for an urgent postponement so that he could examine the fresh evidence and prepare a defense against possible criminal exposure. The judge approved it, stating that the court would meet again in 2 weeks, but 2 weeks was not long enough for the headlines. Jim Jones, a legendary figure in hip-hop. The Diped empire might fall because to Chrissy's child bombshell. Cameron asserts triumph while Jim experiences a dilemma in his profession. Naturally, social media has its own perspective. Jim was branded the new Tristan Thompson of hip-hop in a widely shared TikTok. A discussion on Twitter questioned whether Chrissy had spent years engaging in the long game. Forgiveness was demanded by certain admirers. Others said Jim was done. Jim apparently stood for a few moments while the courtroom cleared before leaving. By themselves. No one knows if Jim heard Cameron whisper, "Told you," as he walked by. And in an instant, the most for now, the dramatic courtroom drama in recent hip-hop history has come to a close. However, the aftershocks had only just started. The Dipset retail store abruptly shut down the following morning. Jim didn't post anything on social media. At last, Chrissy posted a mysterious black square without a caption. That simply increased conjecture. Was it an attempt at power, an apology, or a goodbye? Cameron held an unexpected Instagram in the interim. In the song Petty Wins Again, Liv leisurely sipped tea while Diped instrumentals played in the background as he summarized the entire drama for his fans. Background. He gave one last jab before ending the feed. I won't have to look it up on TMZ at least. Legal professionals offered their opinions on all media outlets. Is Chrissy going to face fraud charges? Is Jim able to file a lawsuit for emotional harm? Would Mr. X now look for custody? Every armchair detective, podcaster, and blogger had an idea. For weeks, the tale dominated the news. Supporters questioned, would Jim and Chrissy reconcile? Was there a chance to re-establish their brand? Or has this irreversibly shattered not only a relationship, but the hip-hop legacy as a whole? There are currently no definitive answers. Jim is still missing, Cam is still Cam, Chrissy is still mute, and the what do you think? Is Chrissy the ultimate evil, or is there more to this story than meets the eye? Was Jim totally taken by surprise, or did he disregard warning signs? Will Cameron ever grow weary of ruling the small kingdom? Spoiler alert, probably not at all. There will undoubtedly be more leaks, receipts, and courtroom drama in the future. If you want to see what happens next, please leave a comment below. Which side are you on? Team Jim, Team Chrissy, Team Cameron? We want to hear it all. Don't forget to like this video, hit the subscribe button, and enable notifications if you enjoy sardonic celebrity drama. I assure you that you will want to be the first to know when the next shocking revelation occurs. Thank you for watching. Until the next time, stay dirty, remain skeptical, and remember, the tea never stops brewing in the world of celebrity fake news. And there, my friends, is the wild, jaw-dropping, messy story that nobody anticipated. Jim Jones broken, Chrissy. We want to hear from you, but don't get too comfy because this narrative is far from finished. Cameron, somewhere out there, is smiling like the king of petty he is. Leave your wildest hypotheses in the comments section right now. Is Chrissy playing some advanced survival game? Or was Jim really taken by surprise? Or was he simply ignoring all the signs? Is this the ultimate betrayal? Let's face it, is Cameron merely stirring things up for fun? Or is he planning something more ambitious? Leave a comment below with your thoughts, your opinion, because you are aware that the internet investigators are putting in extra effort on this one. If you share our addiction to celebrity drama, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and ring buttons. Ring. In the world of false news controversies, the tea only gets hotter and the secrets only get hotter. So you don't want to miss what's going to happen next. Dirtier, and the drama never ends. Brewing. Me. Brewing. Me.